This is the Home Tech Podcast for Friday, April 16th, I think. Nothing like adjusting your audio chain at the very, literally 9 seconds, trying to figure out, no, I'm not recording, but now I am. Welcome to the Home Tech Podcast, a podcast about all aspects of home technology and home automation. This week, got a couple of headlines and some news from Roku. They've got some new gear out, which is kind of cool, and a new OS Roku OS 10, which they didn't call OS X. I don't know what's going on there, but first, as I do every week, I want to remind everyone about the Home Tech Talks that we have going on. Last week, we had a really good one that we did on the Unify Masters class. I don't think I published that up, so I need to get back over there and upload that over to the Patreon page to make sure everybody has access to that. For some reason, I think I forgot to do that, but it was actually really good. We had a really good discussion about all things Unify, and mostly centered around like how to set up the wireless access points and that kind of thing. Just kind of tips and tricks and things that we learned along the way, and we actually learned some new stuff, which is actually the pick of the week this week. So don't forget to check that out. This week we've got to move from. I accidentally scheduled a training for some reason at work. So I won't be able to do it Thursday. We're going to move it to Friday, same time, same bat channel, that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about dashboards, which I think would be kind of cool. I'm dashboard curious, and I've never seen a dashboard that I've liked too much, and I don't know. I think I'm missing something when it comes to dashboards and how to set them up. I do like the HomeKit, the home app dashboard, and I guess just because it's so simple and doesn't really offer that much customization. But when I get into like the other dashboard programs, even some of the other HomeKit apps that offer dashboard features, I get a little overwhelmed and tend to not do too much with those. So with that said, I do have some announcements to make this week. We had a couple of new patrons come on at the $5 level, so I get a big shout out on the show here. And new patron TJ, well, actually new old patron TJ, but TJ goes way back. TJ and I go way back. He was one of the first patrons on the show. Moved away from Florida. He was here in Florida, I think, and he moved away. And I hadn't heard from him in a long time. Glad to have him back. He jumped in the hub and was having some good conversations in there. And then a new patron, Russ Shank. Thanks guys both. Thank you both for helping out with the show and ringing the bell. There we go. And helping the show out. Totally appreciate that. And for supporting the show, both long term and short term. Russ is just joining us, but TJ's been around for a while. Both are in the hub now, and both have access to those home tech talks right there. So be sure to take advantage of those guys. And with that, let's jump into some home tech headlines. Well, it's no surprise to anybody who's been listening to the show for the past 2 weeks here, but the news officially came down that Logitech has now discontinued line of Harmony Universal remotes. It's over. The end of the line, end of an era, I guess. In a post on its support site, Logitech said that its remaining stock of Harmony remotes will continue to be available through retail channels until stocks run out, which by some accounts they already have. And it will continue to support the remote for the foreseeable future. And here's a quote. We plan to support our Harmony community and new Harmony customers, which includes access to our software and apps to set up and manage your remotes. We also plan to continue to update the platform and add devices to our Harmony database. Customer and warranty support will continue to be offered. So it's almost like they're not shutting down, but they're just not making the hardware anymore. And I don't know. It seems like Logitech has a history of this, and I want you to kind of think way back into like 2000, like maybe 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. There was this company. It may have been before that. This company that made this little thing called Slim 3, or I don't remember. It's like a strange name to it. They were bought by Logitech, and Logitech made the Squeezebox, or maybe the Squeezebox came first. I don't remember. The Squeezebox. Logitech had this little streaming box called the Squeezebox around, and you could set this thing up, and it could stream from services like Pandora, Rhapsody, maybe like a few radio services, and yeah, I mean, it was an okay product. There was a lot of people that liked it. I think there was you had the ability to like customize the software a little bit. I know that it was kind of like forked out a little bit later, or development kind of kept going on it, because I know of there was a lot of companies that were still using the Squeezebox like APIs and technologies to be able to utilize like streaming audio in their own products. And if you go to mysqueezebox.com, it's still up and running, and it's got ancient Logitech branding and a broken like TLS certificate, but it's still running. And that's like saying something, because they shut down way back in 2012. So almost 10 years later, that thing's still up and going. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, you can't really have broken certificates on the internet these days and expect stuff to work, but there it is. If you want to go look at a piece of history that is still up and running, mysqueezebox.com. I don't know. Logitech, there's been like, even my speculation that somebody could come along and buy this. And I don't know, like Logitech could probably make more money licensing its control database than they did making the Harmony remotes. So maybe that's something that they're going to do. It says they're still going to add device support and kind of keep the development up. And I that's kind of my day job. If you've got the right developers and people that know the software inside and out, and you're paying them, I mean, it's not hard to do. And once they do it once, they really don't, it's not like they have to program a million Harmony remotes that are out there. They just have to do it once. And if somebody has that TV, the new TCL TV that comes out, and they want to have those good IR codes, they can learn those in and put them into their database. And I think they could probably license that database off too. I have a feeling that's what they do. I don't know. Whatever happens, it seems to be the end of the universal remote. There's no other consumer choices available. And, it's kind of the end of the saga of Harmony, unless something happens in the near future. I don't know. This story's lasted us 3 weeks here on the show, so it's not so bad. But, the march towards Input Zero continues at a rapid pace. And there'll probably be more on that as we talk about some of the new technology, the new stuff out from Roku. Well, rumors out from Samsung, according to a report from the Korean broadcaster MTN, Samsung may start producing OLED TVs. I have to be careful here because they usually do QLED, right? And the panels are going to be sourced by rival LG. The two companies reportedly inked a deal for Samsung to buy up to 1 million OLED panels from LG in the second half of 2021, with up to 4 million panels in 2022. And Samsung is famously stuck with its QLED technology for high-end TVs, and though it's still one of the biggest manufacturers for OLED displays for smartphones, they've stuck with the LED technology on their flat panels. And so, meanwhile, LG is committed to OLED, and they're doubling, tripling down. They want to be the number one OLED brand out there for flat panels, and they've committed to OLED for their expensive, their high-end TVs. And also, they supply for Sony and a few other manufacturers for their OLED panels. So not only will LG be supplying LG TVs, OLEDs, they'll be supplying Sony, they'll be supplying Samsung now, and a couple other smaller manufacturers out there. So big changes coming to the flat panel business. It seems like this comes and goes in cycles. I can remember years ago working at Circuit City and seeing that Panasonic. It was probably like $24,000 for like a 50-inch plasma showing up in the system, and we all kind of like stood around the terminal looking at how much commission you could make on that if you sold it. But that seemed like it was yesterday. And of course, plasmas are out, LCDs are in, LCDs are out, OLED's in, or QLED, and now. I don't know. Who knows what's next? It seems like OLED's got some legs to it, especially since Samsung's switching to it. But I was kind of reading this article we'll put in here from Engadget. It says some of this actually makes sense because everyone's shifting away from LCD technology on their high-end models, and the LCD supply chain is already driven by a few Chinese companies, and they listed them out. I've never heard of them. They're like three character initials. I've never even heard of these companies, like TCL, but not TCL. It's other companies. And it's rumored that Samsung was actually producing a hybrid QD OLED screen, and they had some production issues with that. So they may have been forced to order some stuff from LG. Don't know. The Samsungs could also they could also like use OLED as a stopgap for until their micro LED technology comes in. So like we've been seeing them come out with those products for a while now, and kind of the larger format TVs. And I think maybe as soon as that technology works its way down in price and in production, they may be able to wedge micro LED into more consumer-driven panels. But it looks like for the next couple of years here, we're all going to be relying on LG for their production for the higher-end TVs. It looks like everything's going OLED for the next couple of years. All right. Some news from Netflix here and Sony. Netflix will get exclusive streaming rights to all of Sony's upcoming movies. The two companies announced a new agreement that gives the streaming giant exclusive rights to Sony's upcoming theatrical releases beginning in 2022. And according to The Hollywood Reporter, the 5-year agreement will pay Sony about $1 billion. They gotta bring up the pinky for that. The deal. With the deal, new Sony movies will go exclusively to Netflix following their theatrical release. So kind of a pattern that we've seen in the past. The deal covers blockbuster releases like Morbius, Uncharted, and as well as the new Spider-Verse sequels and a couple of other Spider-Man type movies that are coming out. Those big blockbusters for Sony, big movies. So great deal for Netflix to keep people on their platform. It also includes some older films from Sony's catalog, but they didn't actually outline what those were. And Netflix will actually get first pass at Sony's direct-to-streaming titles, which Sony has already said that they're going to have a number of those in the pipeline. So, good. Like I said, good for Netflix to keep people in-house and watching. I know if there's a Spider-Verse, I'll probably go see the Spider-Verse movie actually in the theater now that we can actually start getting out. In 2 weeks, I can actually go out into public and not worry too much. I had my second shot on Monday. Woohoo! So, hopefully you can get back to a theater, and we've got a couple of dinner theaters around here that they've been open for a little while at half capacity. So maybe we'll start partaking in those a little bit more. But good for Netflix and good for Sony for I guess. Inking these deals and getting $1 billion. All right. So big news today. This week, actually, Roku has introduced a trio of new devices this weekend, a new OS. And first we'll talk about. All right. There's three new hardware pieces that we want to talk about. First is a new $40 Express 4K Plus streaming device. And ships in mid-May, the Express 4K Plus replaces the Roku Premier pretty much as the company's entry-level 4K player. It has a faster processor, dual-band Wi-Fi, and increased internal storage. And plus, the Roku says now that you can attach a micro USB Ethernet adapter if you prefer a hardwired connection, which is probably a good idea. Unless you can't. The Express 4K is also the first Roku player to support HDR10 Plus, which will come to the Roku Ultra as well after a future firmware update in that OS 10. A stripped-down 4K Express player will be exclusively sold to Walmart for $5 less, $35. And this model will also make its way to Canada, Mexico, and the UK. The only real difference is that it ships with a basic remote rather than the voice remote that comes with the Plus. And the voice remote's actually something they came out with as well. They've had this for a while, but the big news on this one was Apple has worked out a deal with Roku that'll give the streaming video service its own shortcut button on the Roku Voice Remote Pro. And this is the first time the branded Apple TV Plus button has appeared on any remote control, other than the custom remotes, I guess. Custom, like the Neo remote. I know you could do that there. The remote, which features a rechargeable battery, a headphone jack for private listening, and two programmable shortcut buttons, and the usual branded buttons like Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and now Apple TV Plus. I did like seeing that they had a rechargeable battery. I think that's a new feature on this one too. So it's kind of nice that you can recharge it rather than swapping out like some AAAs or something like that. The third, last thing that they came out with was a soundbar. They're calling StreamBar Pro. They've had a StreamBar out before. They called the Roku Smart Soundbar. And this one is refreshed. It now includes the Roku Voice Remote that we talked about and a new virtual surround feature. and this one prices in at $180. The Streambar Pro will also be available to order from Roku's website in late May, and should start arriving at major retailers in June. And they said the virtual surround, well, we'll get to that here. The virtual surround is also coming to the smart soundbar with the software update as well. So I'm like squinting at these. I'm trying to figure out what the difference is between these two things, these two products. And really, maybe it's the price. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's much difference. But Roku also announced latest software, Roku OS 10, which began rolling out and start making its way to all supported devices in the coming weeks. They got a couple new features here. They've got a number of them. Instant resume, and so this is an interesting feature. Now streaming apps, what they'll do is they'll pick up right where you left off when you last exited. So if you're watching something, you exit the app, you come back a couple days later, you pick back up, boom, you start back kind of like you'd expect to, rather than having to go back through all the menus and work your way through. They noted that this seems to require some additional work on developers' part, because it only works with a few apps, like the Roku channel's offering it, but none of the big players like Netflix or Prime Video are supporting anything like that yet. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It sounds like a neat feature, though. It sounds like a smart caching idea, like it downloads the movie and it's just sitting there ready to go when you get back into the app. Seems nice. Automatic Wi-Fi detection. Now, this is actually a really cool feature, and I'm not sure. I mean, if Apple did anything like this, maybe, but I'm not sure. This basically, when you're setting up the Roku device, it looks at the Wi-Fi options in your house, and if you've got two networks that are running like 2.4 and a 5G network, Roku will recommend which one's the better option. And you may think, well, the 5G's always got to be the option. And it's not, actually. So if you've got the 5G router on the other side of the house, sometimes you can have slower speeds because 5G doesn't penetrate through walls and the signal doesn't go very far, as opposed to 2.4, which can punch through walls. You get slower speeds, yes, but at the end of the day, you really don't need the full, 600 megabits a second or whatever it is from 5G that you're getting from 2.4. So you just need a little bit of that bandwidth, but it's got to be a good, solid piece of bandwidth. You can't be sporadic in and out like the 5G band is if it's weak. So also, as part of this smart automatic Wi-Fi detection that they're offering, if there's any buffering or stream interruptions, the device itself may pop up and say, hey, why don't you jump over to the other network and get a better signal and be able to watch the show that you're trying to watch. So I think this is really smart. A lot of people set these up, want to get on the 5G network, or they're just setting it up. They don't know that they're setting it up on a 5G network, and it may not have the best signal. And so this is really smart on Roku's part to kind of eliminate that confusion from the end user, and just kind of push it as an option. Like if you want to want to connect to it later, if it may work out better if you need to use 2.4, or say it sees that your 5G signal is better, maybe it wants to switch to that, maybe it'll switch over to that. So automatic games console configuration. So here's more of the death to the harmony type thing. Starting with Roku OS 10, when you plug in a console into Roku TV, a tile will change to the right name and the Roku TV will enter game mode. So depending on the Roku TV model used, the settings will get automatically configured and may include HDR gaming, auto low latency mode, variable refresh rate, high frame rate, and THX certified game mode. All that may get turned on by plugging in the console. That's smart. That's automation right there. So it's all built right into the Roku TV and part of their software package. Great. AirPlay 2 and HomeKit support will be extended to more devices. So I think they were on whatever the previous devices are. Now it's going to go on HD Roku streaming devices, as well as the Roku Express and select HD Roku TV models. And then another couple of options here that you get to customize the TV channel guide for OTA. And so if you've got an antenna, you can go in and customize that guide a little bit and maybe delete a few channels that you don't want to watch. HDR10 Plus for Roku Ultra and the new Roku 4K Plus, Express 4K Plus. And it also adds virtual surround, as we talked about, for the Roku Smart Soundbar and the Streambar Pro. So a bunch of stuff from Roku. I am really excited to see them kind of moving stuff along. It's not often that like you get so many like new things out of one company in 1 week. It's been quiet for a while, and Roku comes along and drops quite a few things. I noticed it from the remote, a story that came along, and then started digging deeper. And it's like Roku's really knocked it out of the park. I think this is just getting better and better. And of course, yeah, Eddie's over there. You're still talking about the remote. Thanks, appreciate that. So there you go. Still talking about the remote? Yeah, I'm still talking about the remote. It's unfortunate, but things like this, things like this remote from Roku, and software offering are some of the things that are killing off that have killed off the Harmony remote altogether. So yeah, I'm still talking about it, but it's Harmony is kind of like, in my opinion, it's kind of like a canary, right? And I think as integrators, we kind of need to keep an eye on that, because it's if the Harmony goes, then all of the single room solutions go, right? Like you don't really need to have a Control 4 remote anymore. And then, at some point you say, well, what is the point of having a Control 4 system? And then, things start disappearing off the plate for the integrator to sell and install. So I know that you get a lot more options out of there than you do out of Roku, but you start mixing in things like HomeKit support. I don't know. All these point devices are getting pretty close to what you could do with a basic Control 4 system, and may be better for some people in some cases. So something to keep an eye out on. We'll of course keep following the Harmony remote, Eddie, just for you. We're gonna keep on that and keep watching what's going on. If something happens, you'll hear about it here first on HomeKit. So, all right. Let's see. All the links that we talked about tonight can be found on our show notes at hometech.fm/347. Yeah, that's right. Don't forget, you can join us live starting on Wednesdays, starting sometime between 7 and 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find out more about that at hometech.fm/live. All right. Pick of the week here. And I may have to adjust this a little bit. Yeah, I do. Okay, so pick of the week. In our Home Tech Talk, towards the end, I was like, well, I need to go look at the UI website and see what's going on over there. And I went over there and I scrolled down to the bottom and found this configurator thing that they have. So this is called the UI Designer, I think is what they're calling it. Yeah, Design Center, Unified Design Center. This is wild. This is like for if you do a lot of Unify, this may be something to check out, because it kind of mirrors a lot of the design tools that I had as a professional integrator and I continue to have like access to as a distributor for. I mean, we do like heat maps and stuff for Ruckus all the time. We pay for software to do this with, so yeah, this is something to keep an eye on because it's actually pretty good. You can. It's kind of hard to describe and see in here, but basically you drop in a floor plan into it. You can go in and basically set up your walls and your dividers. So here I'm going to just draw this long 59-foot divider thing, and you drop on your access points. They've got all of their products in here actually. So you can drop in their routing, switches, access points, cameras, their access control system that I keep forgetting that they have. That looks actually pretty cool. Voice over IP. You can actually run your cables and show them, mark on the plans here where the cable routes are going to go, drop in a rack, put in wall sockets, that kind of thing. It's kind of just a basic design tool. But then what you get out of it is actually, it's a basic design tool, but also get you over here to the sales tool, right? So like you can actually purchase all of the products if they're in stock. The little caveat there. If they're in stock, you can actually, just go in and buy all the products for there. But what it does do as well is there is a download. You can export it as a PDF. And let me get back over to that. And the PDF will actually have all the, the sales materials on it, like for the heat map and everything on there. And I think that it's just a really good looking thing here. So like you got the floor plan, you've got your heat map. It can show you kind of where the dead spots might be. You can see on here, like the greenish areas are probably too low for this is the 5G coverage. And for 5G, you want to have more than negative 65 dB. So, a higher value than that. or you're going to start having problems. And you can see that even with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 access points here, there's a couple spots that you wouldn't expect to be dead. And then you may want to add in another access point or one of their wall access points, just to get a little bit of extra signal in that area, and it may help out. It also does the surveillance, like video surveillance coverage, and it does something really cool that I used to do on my quotes when I was drawing in Visio. I would draw these little triangles out, and I would extend them out, and basically try and show what the coverage would be for the cameras, because cameras are tough. It's hard to explain to someone who's not seen a camera. So I would actually go out to most of the homes I worked on, grab a ladder, grab scaffolding, whatever I needed, and climb up to where the camera would be, take a picture, and basically adjust that picture to the zoom range it was, and attach it onto something that looked like this, where it had like the effective range of what that camera is going to be. Because not all, you may see 200 feet with your camera, but the detail is going to get cut off at 40 feet. So kind of, there's ways to visually express that. And I think this does a pretty good job of showing that off. And then how, there's walls and stuff that can actually block cameras. Amazing. And it just does a pretty good job of that too. And then of course you get a little rack elevation on here. All in all, for a free tool, pretty good. I can't complain. I wish something like this existed when I was an integrator for me. That, oh wait, D-Tools did. So yeah, I did a lot of this the manual and hard way. So I don't know, thought it was pretty cool. Thought I'd suggest throwing that out there and see if anybody hadn't seen it, maybe go check it out, because I hadn't seen it, and until we had our UniFi Masterclass there in our Home Tech Talks, I don't think anybody we were on the, that was in the call had heard of it either. So, check it out. It's pretty cool. If you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, or great ideas for the show, give us a shout. Email address is feedback@hometech.fm, or visit hometech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. And with that, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to hometech.fm/support to learn how you can support Home Tech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a big shout out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, and our Home Tech Talks. So check that out. And thank you again, TJ. And there are two patrons at the top, TJ and Russ, for jumping in there. If you can't help the show financially, totally understand that. I appreciate just a 5-star rating in iTunes or a positive rating in a podcast app, your choice. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Looks like everybody's getting in. Greg says he's late, but not pregnant. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the broadcast there. There you go. And Gavin, thanks very much. Gavin saying good show as usual. Appreciate it. Hey, Greg, there you are. Thanks for swinging by. Made it just in time for me to wrap it up. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for popping into the show here at the end. And we'll talk to you all next week. Have a good one.